What's Next with Lacey, the podcast where I interview young professionals about their career journeys so far. This week's guest is the wonderful Chloe. Chloe works at a PR agency where she's an account supervisor for lifestyle brands. A lot can be learned from her path so far, but what I loved most about our conversation was the incredible advice that Chloe shares. She discusses how best to advocate for yourself at your job, how to use LinkedIn effectively, and how to take advantage and stay open to career opportunities that may appear along your journey. As always, remember to share what's next with friends, family, or even randos you meet on the street. And also, please like and follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you have any field that you particularly want to hear about, don't forget that you can find me and message me on TikTok and Instagram at What's Next with Lacey. Now, please enjoy my conversation with Chloe. All right, are you ready?
I was born ready.
You were born ready. Let's start how I always like to start. Why don't you tell us what field you work in and what is your role?
Yes, of course. I currently work in public relations. I work as an account supervisor at a PR agency in New York. And I never imagined that I would end up in this role when I joined this PR agency. I have a lot of previous experience in other fields. I grew up with my family working in hospitality with a lot of small businesses. And then in college, studied communications because I liked that it was so broad and there were so many opportunities for me. And then following graduation, I worked at a digital consulting agency doing a lot of event work and management. And then I ultimately landed in public relations, which is kind of a combination of all of the things, and really have become a specialist with media relations and event activation specifically for different lifestyle clients.
So you said you are an account supervisor. What are your primary responsibilities in that role?
I do a lot as an account supervisor. I would say I'm getting to a more senior level. So a lot of my day-to-day responsibilities include budget tracking, strategic planning for our yearly briefs, making sure that the projects are running smoothly and on time, and also client management. So I'm the one who is communicating with the clients day-to-day and is that first line of defense. I also help with a lot of the activations that we're planning. So if we have something really fun and buzzy coming up, like a new product launch, I am the one who's really driving that forward and making sure that we are being strategic with how we are going to generate some buzzy coverage around this new launch.
So, and you may have mentioned this, but remind us what types of companies or clients are you working with?
Yeah. Right now, I work with a lot of spirits brands for my team, but with PR, you can work with a range of clients. I mean, everyone needs PR, whether you're a celebrity and you need someone to help curate your image, or if you're a spirits brand and you want to help share a new product that you're launching. Everyone can benefit from having a person who has studied communications and how to present yourself or your brand to the world through the art of words, per se. Everyone can benefit from that. So really, I'm not siloed into just working on spirits. I could be working on other brands as well.
So it is transferable working. Let's say you are working right now with spirits, but you wanted to go into talent PR. Would it be like very, very similar in terms of what you're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think the skills that you learn just from doing any type of PR can be transferable to whatever like type of PR you want to be doing. So if you are interested in going into talent PR, you learn the basic ways of how you want to present a client to the world. So you learn how to get those contracts for them and these opportunities for them, and how to make them presentable to media, whether that's on social media or traditional news outlets, kind of whatever you're building for that person.
What is the biggest challenge that you are facing in your role right now?
It's a lot of work. Anyone who works in PR will tell you that you are working overtime, and a lot of the time you have to bend over backwards for your clients to make miracles happen, but it somehow always comes together in the end. So while there's a lot of hours, it's hard work, it's a lot of overtime, there's a lot of reward and payoff that comes with that as well. And it's so satisfying when you're planning an event specifically to see it all come together in a way that you had never expected it to be.
How have your responsibilities changed as you've grown at the company?
They've changed a lot because when I first started at my company, I was actually on the corporate team. So with that, my responsibilities were much more traditional public relations, where I was building media lists, pitching media and different outlets, and trying to get coverage around thought leadership programs, which are emphasizing a person of the C-suite and trying to get them in the news in some way. So that was how I started. And I was a pretty junior level role. And I expressed that I had interests in event planning, which is something that I've done previously. And so the company was amazing and worked with me to try to find a spot where I could do that and expand my skill set. So I was working part-time on a different practice, which was the lifestyle team. And with lifestyle, they work on the spirits clients. So I started doing event planning, event work with them, while I also still supported my corporate team. And then eventually I just made the shift full-time over to lifestyle because I wanted to be doing the events and the experiential things full-time. So since then, and as I've grown, I have really carved my role out to be that project manager within the team. So alongside putting all of these activations together, being very experiential and tactical with planning, I am also helping look at our scope for the year and marking out, based on what the clients are trying to do, how we're going to get to that point throughout the year. This is a lot more responsibility. There's a lot more involved, a lot more of the back end stuff like managing time and managing budgets and tracking all of that. But I really think that that just comes with becoming a more senior level, a more senior team member. And I'm excited because I think that I thrive in both of those areas and can now use a lot of those extra project management skills to apply it to the programs that we're creating.
That's awesome. How would you say you have positioned yourself and also advocated for yourself as you have grown at the company?
I love this question. And I think it's so important because I am a woman in business. And a lot of the times we don't necessarily know how to ask for what we want. And no one taught me how to do this. So through a lot of trial and error between my many jobs, I went into this position actively trying to vocalize what I wanted in a job and how I could get there. So even though I came in on the corporate team, I learned very quickly that that's not what I wanted to do. So I worked with my manager, expressed what I was interested in, and really tried to find a way to make that happen because I love the company, but I didn't love the work that I was doing. So I fully believe that I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't advocated for myself. And now that I'm in a more senior position, one thing that I try to do is I try to instill those same values and that same spirit with a lot of the junior team members as well. So helping them track their successes and helping them if they are trying to advocate for a raise for themselves, kind of teaching them what they need to say, how they can phrase it and position themselves in a way so that, you know, they can't really say no to what they're asking because they're supporting it with evidence of their work product.
In that same vein, would you say there's anything that you do or that people should be doing kind of outside of work that helps you improve at your job? Like, are there any trends that people should be keeping up with or outlets that they should be monitoring or things like that to help you be better at your job?
I think with my job in particular, you have to be up with the times. You have to be keeping a pulse on what's happening within culture. So for me, that means I'm reading the news, I'm on social media, I'm scrolling, I'm trying to see what's trending, what's not trending, so that I can apply that to my work. I also just think it's really important to educate yourself on what's happening, whether it's pertaining to your profession or not. I think it just is good to be tapped into something more than just your 9 to 5, because it's very easy to get sucked into that all the time. So whether that's you also have other hobbies that you enjoy too, I think there's a lot of beauty in giving yourself time and space to do the things that you enjoy, because then you ultimately bring some sort of learning back into your job.
I now want to move into more of the nitty-gritty of your day-to-day work. So what does a day look like for you? Are you spending most of your time in meetings? Are you doing the individual work that you have to get done? How does your day play out?
It's tough with PR because every person in PR knows that no 2 days are the same, that it's constantly changing. I would say right now, a lot of it does look like planning. So I'll wake up, I'll go through all my emails, I will look at all of the strategic planning decks that I have to get to, start thinking through how we want to build campaigns for the year, and put thoughts to paper. That's kind of what the next few months will entail. Once things start ramping up and we get approvals on the campaigns or different activations that we want to move forward with, a lot of it is logistical planning. So whether that's, we're making sure we have travel to get to where we need to be for a launch, or making sure we have an experiential partner to help with the physical build outs for an event, or we need a food and alcohol caterer for the food and drinks. A lot of it is just logistics from the day to day. And then once we go live with the campaign or have the event or the announcement, we are pitching to media. So we'll craft emails and pitches with all of the information they need to try to garner coverage and get, stuff out there to spread the word about this new announcement.
How many people are on your team? And is your team very collaborative in what they're doing?
We're extremely collaborative. Right now, there's about 50 people on my individual team, which is pretty large for a PR firm.
Yeah.
But we've just had a ton of growth because of all of the success with the projects that we have, which is amazing. So I would say day to day, I work with about 10 people across my few different accounts that I touch.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier that so like a lot of your job is doing these activations and these events for your clients. What does it look like when you're on one of these, when you're at an event and at an activation with your client? What are your responsibilities and how does that work?
As an account supervisor now, I really am making sure that I'm managing the clients throughout the evening. So let's say we're doing a dinner party and we have a specialty cocktail and we've invited influencers and media to taste this product for the first time. I am responsible for making sure that the event is running smoothly, just from a general perspective, and also making sure that if the clients are unhappy or if they have any feedback, that's being incorporated real time. So really just kind of managing client expectations and making sure the logistics of the programming are running smoothly, which anyone who's put on an event knows that no event is ever going to run smoothly, but you have different things in place to set yourself up for success no matter what happens the day of.
How often do you have these events?
It's different for every client. I would say some of our clients like to have events multiple times a month, and then others will do just one big activation for like the year. It really depends on what their budgets are.
That makes sense. Given all this and everything that you've just said in terms of the nitty-gritty of your day, what are your hours? And do those hours change when you have a big event coming up?
Definitely. I would say my hours right now range from 45 to 50 hours a week, which I think is a pretty good balance. It allows me to have time in my day for myself, and I'm still able to log on at a normal time. When our activations are really ramping up, I would say that definitely increases. It can be anywhere from 60 to 70 hours. And then if we're staffing an event, we're obviously on the clock the whole time. But it doesn't feel like work all the time because it's exciting and it's fun, and we're working towards an event of some sort that we'll eventually see come to life.
I now want to go back and discuss your journey to PR, which I know has been a big journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. Let's go back and start with you in college. I know you said earlier that you majored in communications, but did you always want to go into PR?
I didn't know what I wanted to go into. which I think is the beauty of getting a communications degree, because there are so many different avenues and fields that you can pursue with that degree. So I knew with strategic communication specifically, which is what I majored in, I knew that I could go into marketing, advertising, PR, or even business if I wanted to, and the skills that I learned in school applied. So it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And it just so happened that the first job that I got that I was interested in was at a digital consulting firm. So I was doing event management at this digital consulting firm before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, my role shifted.
What is digital consulting?
Honestly, consulting is one of those things that is so confusing to me.
Yeah.
Because everyone says consulting, Big Four consulting.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of client management. It's just a lot of the same, which I think is a good thing because a lot of people can do these jobs and you just kind of work with what the clients are trying to accomplish. For me, I was working on government projects. So it was a lot of campaigns specifically around veteran mental health that I was supporting. And it was very cool, very informative, very heavy, which I knew just long term it was not good for me to be doing forever. But again, we were touching the lives of veterans and hearing their stories, which were incredible to hear as well.
So then I know you said earlier that you had already had this experience in like event planning, but what else drew you to PR and to make that switch from doing these campaign type events to going into this corporate then lifestyle PR work?
I really just wanted to move to New York. And I know that's not a great answer, but my whole life, I knew that I wanted to live in New York. And I didn't know how I was going to get there. But the minute that the opportunity presented itself, even though I had no experience in PR previously, I knew I was going to be able to pick it up. And I knew that I was going to make it worth my while to take this new job and live in New York City. And it's been the best decision that I've ever made.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. I mean, I love New York. I would do anything to stay here.
It's the greatest city in the world.
It really is. So then going back to your journey, what internships did you have while you were in college that led you down this path? And was your university helpful in finding those internships?
I only had one internship, which was a digital marketing internship at a luxury rental property company in Boston. And do I think this was applicable to anything I do now? Not necessarily, but it was an internship and it got me the credit. And I had some natural connections with this just because I grew up within the hospitality space. So for me, it was interesting kind of going down that different avenue of Airbnb type rentals versus hotels. Yeah. So it was cool to see the difference. As for if my college prepared me for this, they had a really amazing student resource center that I did not take advantage of. So anyone in college, highly recommend using your resources while you have them because they are literally there to set you up for success or to help you on your journey. And I think that if I had been more proactive when I was younger, I could be in a completely different place. Not saying that where I'm at is bad. I am really happy with my career trajectory and where I'm going. But I think I could have found PR quicker if I had taken advantage of those resources.
Did you then use those resources to find your first job?
No, I didn't even use them to find my first job. I think at that point, I was so overwhelmed because I had been applying on LinkedIn and just trying so desperately to find jobs that were not available at that point that I ended up just applying to anything that I thought was relevant. And so did I want to go work at a digital consulting agency? Maybe. Yeah. But to me, the company culture has always been a very important part of my decision making with my career. And I really liked the culture that this company seemed to have with my first job. So that's why I ended up choosing it for my internship.
How then, so you were working at this this digital consulting company. How then did you find your current company?
I was on a boat.
You were on a boat.
I was on a boat. I was on a boat with some of my family members and their really good childhood friends who I just struck up a conversation with. And he had mentioned that his daughter worked in New York and did something very similar to me. And he thought that we would be great friends. So he put me in touch with her. We ended up becoming great friends. She helped me get an interview by sending my resume in to her senior leaders. And then I was hired 2 weeks later. So you never know when the next opportunity will present itself to you. I had no idea. I wasn't even looking for jobs at this point. I had briefly mentioned to my aunt that maybe I would start looking in a couple months, just because I had been at this previous company now at that point for over 2.5 years. And then I go on this boat and this opportunity just presented itself and I followed it.
That's amazing. I mean, you're absolutely right. You really have no idea when these opportunities are going to appear and who knows anyone or can influence you in one way or another and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
It was so crazy. I think that would be a big piece of advice that I would share as well is keep your mind open to new opportunities. Just because a job or a career path isn't what you think it's going to be, that doesn't mean that it's not what it can be. Like you can make the best out of any situation. You just have to have a good mindset around it.
Totally. I love that. Well, on that note of advice, we're going to wrap this up with some advice.
Love.
Firstly, exactly, what advice would you have? Let's start specifically with PR. What advice would you have going into PR in general?
Get agency experience. Because no matter where you are, there is going to be PR and PR roles for you to have, whether that's in-house or at an agency. But it is so crucial to have that agency experience, especially when you're young and early in your career, because it shows that you can handle a lot of different projects.
Do you think that agency experience also leads to like knowing a lot about other opportunities so that you don't have to hear it from a friend on a boat? Do they come through those doors a lot more? Do you know?
I mean, I think you have a lot of connections because of it. So if you can foster those connections, absolutely.
Amazing. Then what advice would you have for someone who wants to go into lifestyle PR in particular?
I would start researching the agencies that you want to work for and going to LinkedIn and searching for people who are in those roles. Because I am such a fan of people when they reach out to me on LinkedIn and just ask for a short call to connect and learn more about my role and my responsibilities, because it shows that they're being really proactive. It shows that they want to learn more about the agency as a whole. And then it also just puts a face to a name. So you're much more likely to be able to get an interview somewhere if you are connecting with the people who are at that agency first and trying to express your interest in a position more than just clicking apply on LinkedIn without taking that step.
Yeah. This is going to sound like a very odd question, but when you're receiving these messages from people who are reaching out to you, what do you like to see in these messages? Do you like to see, hi, I have X experience, or hi, I also went to the same university from you? Like, what would you suggest people write that it will catch your eye? Because I'm assuming that you probably get a decent amount of these on LinkedIn. So how do you catch someone's eye in those messages?
Keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time I'll read it, and if it's too long, it's hard for me to go back to, or I won't remember it. So I think just getting straight to the point, saying, hi, I saw that you work at this agency. I am really interested in this position, and I would love to learn more about the agency as a whole if you have time to set up a call. Short, sweet, simple. You may not get a response from everyone, but at the agency that I work at, I feel like you would get a response from everyone because it just genuinely is a people first agency.
I love that. I always do wonder that with LinkedIn is that indeed you feel like it's such a pressure to cold email people and you want to say something that like catches people's eye. So,
well, it's also a relationship too. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people who are starting in this industry because I had no guidance when I first got in. So if I see someone who is fresh out of college who really wants to work at an agency, I want to do what I can to help them get in sooner because I know how hard it can be to apply for those jobs. I applied to over 200 jobs when I first graduated from college and I got 2 offers for internships. So it's not an easy industry to get into. And communications is so broad that you can truly take it wherever you want. But there's a lot of people who major in communications and a lot of people who are fighting for a lot of these agency spots.
Yeah. Gosh, 200 applications.
I don't think I was doing it in a very smart way, but I didn't have guidance and I wasn't taking advantage of the resources that I had.
Beyond taking advantage of that, if you could go back to that you then, what would you do differently?
I would tailor every single application. So every single resume would be tailored with keywords from the application.
Yeah.
I would tailor my cover letters more so than just replacing a few words here and there. I would reach out to people on LinkedIn and I would just see if I had any mutual connections at the company that I was applying for so that I can learn more about their culture and get in front of someone before I actually submit the application. And I think that that goes so far. It's all about connections. Communications is all about connecting with people.
Yeah.
So if you can connect with someone and make them feel like they are more than just someone who could potentially get you a job, that's going to go so much further than just applying and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And hoping that they notice you.
Show genuine interest in what they're doing and their experience. And that can go a lot further than being like, hi, I would like a job. Please help me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you show that genuine interest and show that you know that they're a person, they are 10 times more likely to actually recommend you on the back end and put in a good word for you because you had a genuine conversation. Even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you showed that proactivity, you showed that you truly wanted to learn more about them, their experience, and everyone just wants to feel like they matter a little bit and that what they're doing is important and that they can be helpful.
And everyone loves talking about themselves.
100%. We love talking about ourselves.
So foster that in people and you'll make a friend that will help you. 100%. That's excellent advice that I think can even be applied to beyond this industry.
Absolutely. I think it can apply to anything.
Yeah.
Like, for example, should I talk about grad school now?
I was about to get to it, but you can go to grad school now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've been considering grad school, and through my application process, I have made it very known that I want to get to know the admissions team. 1, so that I can put forth the strongest application possible, but 2, so that when I submit the application, they know the person behind the paperwork. And I'm hopeful that this will go a long way for me.
Yeah, 100%. Well, when you decide whether or not you go, we'll have to have you back to talk about your grad school experience. What are you applying for?
I'm applying for my MBA.
Amazing.
Yes.
We'll definitely have to have you back.
Yes, master's in business administration. So another career shift, but still applicable for public relations. I feel like it really rounds out my experience and expertise.
Well, on that note, I know we just talked about grad school and that application is pending, but what's next?
I am really excited to continue planning a lot of really exciting things at my job. I'm super excited about the work that we have coming up for the year. I think it'll be a really great year. And, if grad school works out, then I will take that next step and be going back to school.
But for now, you're loving what you're doing.
Yeah, for now, I'm just taking it day by day. I also just really believe that you get what you get out of the experiences based on what you put into them. So for me, I go into my job every day and I look at it as something like I can learn something new from, or I can learn something new from the people that I work with, because I work with brilliant people. So having that positive mindset, I think, has gone a really long way. And I think that's also why I've been able to be so successful and grow within my company as much as I have in such a short time.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And